You are listening to How to Get Over Your Ex, episode number 225. Three tools to help you trust the process. Welcome to How to Get Over Your Ex, a podcast on getting over your ex without it just taking time. I'm your host, breakup coach Dorothy. Let's turn your pain into power and your heartbreak into happy. Hello, beautiful Bravehearts. I have a special guest here today with us, Maria. She is a recent graduate from the Get Over Your Ex program, and I'm very excited for her to come on, share her journey. I feel like we have so many good talking points, and we have a lot of, I feel like, Maria, I don't know if I've never told you this, I don't think, but I feel like we have a lot of similarities. And a
Yes.
lot of the things that she has struggled with, I have also struggled with. So I feel like today's conversation is going to be very fun because we have two different perspectives of a lot of the same things. So I cannot wait to dive in. Maria, will you go ahead and just, introduce yourself, let us know who you are, where you are, what you do, whatever you feel comfortable sharing with all of the brave hearts listening in.
Okay, so I am originally from Colombia, Bogota, Colombia. I am living in LA right now. I'm a physician in Colombia and I'm working in neurosurgery research in LA. And I'm hoping to apply to residency this year. So I think this is my year. So
Yes, so good. I'm so proud of you. I feel like we've celebrated a lot of really big accomplishments while you were inside of the Get Over Your Ex program. And I am truly in awe of you coming from like a completely different country, speaking a completely different language, and then learning at such a mastery level. It really inspires me. So I think it's so cool that you're from Colombia, you came here, you're doing your residency, all that stuff. It's just like mind-blowing to me. So why don't let's go ahead. I want to dive into your heartbreak journey. I think your background and what we just kind of talked about also ties in, but let's just start with, tell us a little bit about your breakup journey. What happened? Like what's the short version? Because we've all got like a really long version of our stories, but I want you to tell me what is your short version of what happened and what started your breakup journey.
so what happened, like my short version is that we had a fight and he told me like I don't love you. And he says like I don't want to be with you. And I was like, okay. But the thing is that I had my exam in that month, the exam that will literally change my life. Or I can stay in the US or I go back to Colombia. So I asked him, can you please stay with me until my exam? I truly believe that I couldn't do it by myself. And I said, like, please stay with me. And he said, like, no. So I was like, how I'm gonna do this? Like, how? Then I said, like, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want anything to do with you. I just need to focus on my exam. I started to listen to podcast every morning because
And
that's
how long were, Maria, not to interrupt you, but how long were you guys together? How long have you guys been seeing each other
together
up to that
like
point?
10 months, more or less.
Yeah, so seeing each other
Like
for 10 months.
yeah, he became my family because I didn't have anyone in
Yeah.
LA. So he was my family. He was the one, if I was sick, he was there. And I think I was his family too.
Mm.
So I think that was the difficult part, like being alone in LA without my family, without my childhood friends, without
About to
anyone.
take the biggest exam of your
The biggest
life.
of my life is the most difficult ones. Like it's called the step one is basic science and it's 8 hours. So it's you have to be mentally strong to do it.
Mm.
So I before like I was with him and he once said like it's so difficult to be happy with you. I think when you move out of your country, you change everything. Everything
And
that you
did,
know
yeah, and
change.
did did you move out of the country for him? Like, did you meet
No, no,
him
no.
and then move?
No,
So you
for me.
moved here and then you met him here.
Yes.
And then you were, I mean, how long had you been in the country before you met him?
6 months.
Okay, so pretty much the majority of time that you've been here, you've had him as your support system. And then
Yes.
dramatically losing that and hearing that he doesn't love you anymore, hearing like all of these things that just you had no idea was coming right before your exam. It's just insane.
Yes. And it was one day before my birthday, and we have everything planned. And I even spent my birthday with him, crying all day and asking him, why don't you love me? Why all
Mm.
day? It was awful, but that's what it is.
We can all resonate with that. I mean, I can at least, maybe not all of us, but I've done that. I've begged. So I'm also curious too, is he from here? Or,
Yes.
okay, so he's not from another place. Does he have a family and a support system here?
Yes, he
Yeah.
has.
Okay. So it's your birthday. Well, let's talk about after your birthday. So the breakup happens, it's your birthday. You're asking him to stay with you for the exam. He says no. When he left your place after that point, what'd you do? How'd you handle it? Like, what were your next steps?
So I was like calm in a sense because I've been like I knew that I didn't want to be with him, but I was attached to him. So a part of me was calm because I kind of I was excited of my new life. But of course, I was feeling like I was gonna die.
Yeah. It's such a like, isn't it so conflicting? Like you have moments of this high where you're like almost relieved, kind of excited for what's to come. But then all of a sudden, too, moments happen. And then all of a sudden, you're like missing this person and
Yeah.
upset about this person and feeling like what you want isn't going to be available without them. And it's just like that roller coaster, kind of like what we talk about in the program. It's that roller coaster of emotions of like the high highs, the low lows, and how do you get to that middle ground for a consistent period of time. So, I mean, tell us a little bit about what were, I would love to know what were your biggest obstacles when it came to your breakup.
So the first one is that I work with him. So when I was in my desk and someone passed by, I thought it was him. So I literally cried all day. I had to go to the bathroom, cry, and come back. Go to the bathroom, cry, come back. So
Mm.
that was the worst thing, having
Yeah,
him close, having to see him and be like nothing, like, hi, how are you? Like nothing happened. And
it's
he always
hard.
seems so happy and so like, I don't know, I don't, so fake. Like,
Unbothered or
yeah,
unbothered, like, yeah, that's difficult.
he was always like,
There's a lot of people who are listening that work with their ex. I am like shook by it. I have someone close to me right now, and they're going through a called off engagement, and he works with his ex partner. Just wild,
it's
yeah.
tough.
Okay, so working with your ex was one. What were the other two biggest obstacles that you had?
The exam, of course, like
Hmm.
having to be in my mental 100%
Yeah.
to take an exam
Okay.
and going through it kind of alone because I
Yeah.
didn't have my family and my friends.
I feel like we've talked about that a lot, is like the loneliness.
Hmm.
Hmm. Amazing. So I guess I would love to know what kind of like what I talked about before, what I asked before is what were your next steps? What was like the progression of you're running into the biggest problems that you talked about. What were the steps and what were the progression that you chose to take to overcome those obstacles? And so what I mean is like you got done, you're like, I'm feeling calm right now, but then what happened and what were the steps that you took?
Then I was feeling calm, but in a rush. I wanted to go through the process fast. I
Mm,
wanted to just be over him fast. So I was doing everything like listening to podcasts, writing before I went to the program, but nothing was like kind of working. I was like, I want to go fast to it. Like, I don't want to love him anymore. I don't want to think about him anymore.
Do you feel like that was because of the exam? Like you wanted to get over
Yeah,
it
I
quickly
wanted
so
to,
that you could focus on the exam?
yeah, I wanted to get over him and then focus on my exam.
Mhm.
And I was like that like a month. And then I was like, this is not working. So what I decide to do is like I'm gonna focus on myself while I study 5% of my time or 10%. I had to normally people study to sometimes 8, 12 hours a day.
Mhm.
I couldn't. I was like, I'm just gonna focus on myself and study whatever I can.
Mhm.
And I think that that was the thing that worked for me, like
Yeah.
working on myself. Even I enrolled in the program 2 weeks before my exam.
Wow. Because I remember it was close. It wasn't
It
like,
was close,
I
and
don't
I
feel
know
like
it was
there were a,
crazy,
yeah.
but I was like, I don't care. I need to focus on myself because if I don't focus on myself, I won't be able to take this exam.
Yeah.
I studied almost all my life for this, so I had to do it. And I thought that when I did this exam without him, I will be over him. But it was not true. It was worse. When I did my exam and I passed, I was like, I miss him. And then I started my true journey.
Yeah, that's so, oh my gosh, that's so powerful. I mean, I think we all go through that kind of process ourselves. At least I'm someone who's like, I want to try it my way first. And people will be like, oh, well, you could do it this way, you could do it that way. And not even speaking about breakups, just like in general in life. And I have to like fail first myself to then be able to be like, okay, I tried my thing. Now I'll try this other thing. Um, so I find it fascinating too that you joined 2 weeks before your exam. How was that? I mean, because I do remember you being in a hurry in the beginning. And you only have 2 weeks to study for your exam. And the Get Over Your Ex, program is pretty heavy in content. So how did you kind of manage that? And I would love to know what helped you the most in preparing and studying for your exam.
So I just first is something that I enjoy, like working on myself, like I enjoy it. So it was like that was my free time.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. That's how I
So
feel about it.
usually I used to study Saturday, well, Monday through Friday I work and study. I work Saturdays, I study Saturdays and Sundays. But I decided that Sunday is gonna be my day to go to the beach, to listen to podcasts, to write, like my day to grow. And that gave me so much power. Like this is my day. I've never had a day because normally Sundays is like for family or but I don't have family. So I was like, oh, Sundays can be my day. Like so that's how I like managed to do the content of the program and also study. And that gave me like less stress. Like, okay, Saturday I study, maybe Saturday night I go out, but Sunday it's for me, whatever happens. And before the exam was a Sunday. I went on a hike with a friend, then I cook, I listened to podcasts, I finished some of the activities, and it was just a perfect day.
And that's profound. How was spending your Sunday doing that so beneficial to you starting your exam on Monday?
It was like, I don't know, it was just perfect because usually my Sundays with him were like not boring, but we could go to the beach or but I was not working on myself. I was just hoping that he will save me for my emotions. So I will feel powerless. But now like doing those type of things, working on myself, like managing my emotions. If I was stressed or nervous, I was like, okay, I can manage this. I was like, I think it was perfect. Actually, it was perfect that he broke up with me a month before. Because otherwise, I don't know if I could do the exam like feeling that powerless.
That's so wild. I wish we could pause that and rewind and show that to the version of you who signed up 2 weeks before.
Yeah.
Like, that is wild. I'm
And I
so
actually told him like, thank you for breaking up with me. Thank you.
Thank you. It reminds me of I think it's Ariana Grande's song where it's like, thank you next. Okay. So that's wild. That's amazing. So can we tell everyone the results of your exam?
Yeah, I passed.
Yeah, so exciting. Absolutely amazing. Phenomenal. So, barrier number one, or not barrier, I should say, one of your biggest obstacles you said was the exam. So, we implemented a Sunday that's specific to you, and you passed your exam. Amazing. So, the other two were loneliness, and what was the other one?
Working with him.
Working with him. Okay. So, which one do you want to talk about next? Do you want to talk about loneliness or do you want to talk about having worked with him? I feel like we should touch on both because I know people who are listening have both of those.
So working with him.
Okay. So, how'd you overcome working with him?
I think I still struggle
Mm-hmm.
because a part of me wants to see him. A part of me, of course, don't want to see him. I think uh, I don't really know how I did it, but I think I just get used to it. And I remember like the coaching session that it was like he is just like a worker who I used to have a relationship with. And that's the thinking that I always, when I see him, I always did. Always, always, always. And in a moment, it started to get easier. It's not, it's difficult to explain, but if you like repeat that, it started to get easier.
Well, and
And I
here's,
still had to do it, have to do it because I'm not
yeah,
100% okay with him working with me.
yeah. And here's the thing. I want to say two main points about this that I think that's really powerful. One, you don't have to work with, and I'm not speaking to you, I'm speaking to everyone, not just Maria, but you don't have to work with an ex, but you can if you need to. So when I say I always want my clients to get to indifference and feeling calm and neutral whenever their ex is around or if anything happens with their ex. That doesn't mean you're not putting things in place where hopefully you don't have to work with your ex forever, right? I don't think Maria's going to stay at that one spot for forever, but while she does need to right now, she's going to, and she's going to learn how to thrive in that environment, regardless of her circumstances, AKA working with her ex, right? So it's the same thing for you if you're working for your with your ex and you can't change the circumstance, if you're in a space where you truly like don't want to change the circumstance, then learning how to navigate this is so powerful and it can happen. You can feel calm, you can feel relieved, you can feel indifferent, you can feel neutral around the situation. Now, what Maria and I did in a coaching session that was so powerful was really just looking at the facts of the situation. We don't have to make this a good thing. We don't have to change her thinking into, oh my God, I hate working with my ex, to, oh my God, I love working with my ex, or I love this. This is great. This is so amazing. I just think it's so powerful just calling out facts for facts. So for example, Maria mentioned like, this is just a human that I'm working with that I used to have a relationship with, that I used to care a lot about, and just stating the facts for what they are, not making them mean anything about you, not making them mean anything about the feelings that come up, not making it mean anything about your work environment, like really just calling the facts for what they are can be super beneficial. I also see this with my colleagues who coach on loving your body. And sometimes we don't go from, oh my gosh, I hate my body. We just go to, I have a body, and just calling the facts for what they are. So I feel like, Maria, that's one of the ways that you really took that and implemented that to get to the place that you are now.
Yeah, and I also think the most important thing for me was like the bridging thoughts. Like you don't need to pass from white to black. There's a
Mhm.
gray in the process.
Yes,
So I think for me that was really powerful.
so good. So then tell me a little bit about your other biggest obstacle, which was the loneliness.
The loneliness, I think it was the worst for me.
Hmm.
And that thing started in the relationship.
Hmm. Yeah.
Uh,
Hold on. Isn't
like
that kind of
2 months.
funny? Like, hold on, pause, because I just want to mention this to all the listeners and really call it out of you might be lonely in your breakup, but I also want you to think about how often you were lonely in the relationship. And notice that loneliness isn't dependent on your relationship status. There's people who are in relationships that feel lonely. And it also doesn't, it's not determined by how many people you have physically around you. Because there are people who, I mean, you could be in a room full of people and still feel lonely. And I think those are the two things that we often look at of because I'm not in a relationship, I'm feeling lonely. Because I don't have anyone at home anymore, I'm feeling lonely. And it's easy. I feel like Maria has like the best circumstance to blame it on. She could have easily just been like, I'm lonely because I don't have a support system. I don't have any of my family. I don't have any friends. I haven't created anything here for myself. And it's easy to look at that scenario and just experience a lot of loneliness. And that doesn't mean we have to change the loneliness, but it just looking at it, I think, is very powerful. So continue, tell us what you did about the loneliness.
My loneliness started during the relationship, and I just understand that, and it's huge. And it started when I had a miscarriage. He that was the worst moment in my life. He was traveling for work, and he just couldn't ask me, "How are you?" or be there with me. So I think that was worse than the breakup, being in that moment alone, not having my family. But in that moment, I realized that I needed to first work on myself, and second, create a support system. And I realized that this could happen again. I can have a miscarriage and a man can leave me alone again. But now I'm comfortable that I can take care of myself, and that I've built a community that can be here for me. Before my breakup, I had like two good friends. And after my breakup, maybe I have five. It's not about the quantity, but I have five that are really, really good friends, and I can call my family now. So it was like knowing that you cannot put everything in a partner. You need to like diversify your your activities, emotions, like people do with money. You diversify to invest. You need to diversify with the people, with your partner, with your family. And I think that's how I now I'm comfortable with my loneliness. Now I always think that I have a problem with attachment, and now I think I can like handle that better. Of course, it's a growing process every day, but I think I now have the tools to like have a healthy relationship in the future or whatever.
So good. I love that so much. I love your analogy of we diversify money, we diversify our investments, so we also need to diversify our support system. And Maria and I just really connected on the whole miscarriage front. And it's such a weird experience going through that because even when you're in a partnership, like you can feel so lonely through that experience because it's hard to convey how you're feeling. The world doesn't know how to handle it. Um, a lot of people won't talk about it or think you don't want to talk about it. And at least for myself, I really wanted to be able to talk about it, but it's such an interesting experience. And number one, I'm sorry that you went through that. I don't wish that upon anybody. But also, number two, I'm just really proud of I'm proud of you because of this whole idea of like, wow, I really get to create a support system. And I want to call that out to the listeners because I want them to recognize that you didn't just sit there and do thought work over it. This whole podcast, if you're new, like welcome. We talk a lot about changing your thoughts to change how you feel. And not only did Maria work on changing her thoughts to change how she felt, but she also took massive action in alignment to what she wanted. And what she wanted was to feel supported. So instead of just sitting there and saying, I'm not supported and be upset about it, she's like, what can I do about it? Well, how can I change this for myself for next time and make this, a better experience regardless of what happens? Now, of course, I don't think you're going to choose a partner that wouldn't be there for you next time, but you never know what could happen. And I think the fact that you've built the support system that you were so, deeply wanting back then so that you have it now is just so, so profound. It's amazing.
Yes, I mean, I open Bumble Friends and just
Yeah, so
I
good.
didn't believe in that, but it works. I mean, of course, you don't want 100 friends. You just need one friend that can go out with you and be there with you, watch movies with you, whatever you want to do. So,
Hmm. It's so important. I did the same kind of thing after my miscarriage as I realized that my support system was rather small. It wasn't non-existent. Like I had my cousin here, and of course my mom would come visit me if I wanted her to. But it was like I did realize the lack of support in my I had support online in a lot of ways, but I did not have support in real life. And creating friendships and really investing time and energy into that is so important. Hmm.
yeah, and talking about that 100% because I think it's so normal. A lot of women has miscarriage. It's so normal. But we know they don't let us talk about it. Like it's like a taboo, but it's not. It's so normal. I work in birth defects here in Colombia, and I talk to a lot of women that have babies with birth defects or miscarriage or a lot of things, and they always ask like, "It's my fault," and it's also important to know that it's not our fault. That just things happen. Imagine a baby from one cell or two cells growing, a lot of things can happen, and none of those things are our fault. And that doesn't mean that we cannot have the baby in the future. Like, that was for me the most important thing to know. Like, it's not my fault, and I can have a healthy baby in the future.
So good. I'm so glad that you said that. And for anyone listening who is like, who knows someone close to them that has had a miscarriage, I highly recommend not just assuming that they don't want to talk about it. I highly recommend like asking them if they do want to talk about it and you're here to just talk it out. And of course, there are no words that make this situation better, but being able to have someone to just be upset with is so helpful.
Yes, 100%. Like, it's a sadness that you can never explain.
Mm-hmm.
You need to feel it, and eventually things will get better.
Well, you saying that kind of reminds me is there's two, I almost feel like there's two experiences to miscarriage. I think there's the experience of losing, like the mental and emotional experience of losing the child. And then there's also the physical
Mhm.
experience of loss. And I have dealt so much so with mental and emotional loss that I felt like a pro in that area. But when it came to physical loss, I had no words to describe it. I still have very little words to describe it. Um, it adds a layer on top of the mental and emotional loss. It's just so wild. It's extremely
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, because
Um,
when you're sick, you don't want anything, but you're sick and you're sad and it's hurting, so you're like a mess.
yeah, yeah. I'm so proud of you. So you overcame your biggest obstacles, like we talked about, aloneness, feeling lonely, working with your ex, and then the first one of your exam. I mean, just I'm so proud of you, even just talking, like recanting that. That's amazing. So, what do you feel like besides those? What do you feel like are your biggest kind of wins from this experience? What are you celebrating about yourself through this experience? I would love to know.
Of course, that I passed the exam.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Second, that I start to enjoy my alone time and like be connected and know like I'm alone and I'm enjoying it and I don't
Mm-hmm.
have any problem with that. Like not seeking like, can I do something? What are you doing? It's Friday night and I'm alone. No, like, okay, I want to stay home. I want to like
Mm-hmm.
before I always like kind of m made a lot of plans to not to be alone despite me being tired or wanting to stay home. But now I really do whatever I want to do. And also, I started to say no to people. I'm a people pleaser 100%. So, like, why do I think that if I say no, people will leave? That's not true. That's a lie. If you say no and people leave, then better. They're not for you. So starting to say no to even to my closest friends for me is hard. So I'm starting to do that. Like, and it's no for stupid things. Maybe, hi, do you want to go for a coffee? And I'm like, I say yes, but I'm busy. I need to work. I need to study.
Yes, and
So I think those are my
prioritizing.
biggest wins.
So good. I love it. Amazing. I'm so proud of you. So, my last question is really I know that there has to be someone listening who's in a very similar place as you might have been a couple of months ago, someone who's struggling with some of those same things. I am really curious. What would you tell that past version of yourself?
So I think I would say it's something that worked for my exam and for the process. Like, trust the process. Like, of course, not like sit down and relax, but just trust the process. Don't think about what's gonna happen in 3 months or in 1 year, whatever. Just trust the process, enjoy it, and eventually you will get there. I always think like how I'm gonna get there, like how I'm gonna do it, like how I'm gonna get over him. But if you work every day on yourself in your work or whatever, you can achieve whatever you want. So I think for me that was the thing that helped the most.
I love that. So, trust the process. Amazing. All right, Maria. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you coming on, sharing your breakup journey. I feel like it's going to be so profound and so helpful for all of the Bravehearts listening. So, thank you.
Thank you.
If you're loving the How to Get Over Your Ex podcast and you'd like to learn how to fast forward getting over your ex without spending months or years feeling angry, jealous, or unlovable, I would love to personally invite you to participate in our free on-demand video training where we share 3 mind-blowing moments that will forever change your experience with your breakup or divorce. Come check it out at breakupcoachdorothy.com.